That's Navigator of the Seas down there. She's more than 20 years old and she's nowhere near the biggest ship in Royal Caribbean's fleet anymore. And sitting right there next to her is Quantum of the Seas, another Royal Caribbean ship we've sailed and really enjoyed. But after spending 7 nights aboard Navigator sailing from LA to Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlán, and Puerto Vallarta, I think ships like this might actually be some of the best values in cruising. We had 9 people traveling together, all on casino offers. We met some great people along the way and had some of the best service we've experienced on a Royal Caribbean cruise. And my $2 bills made Tony and me pretty popular with the casino servers. So today, we're going to tell you about what it actually feels like to spend 7 nights aboard Navigator of the Seas. We're not going deck by deck. We're not going to show you every restaurant, every bar, and every cabin category. There are plenty of videos that already do that. Instead, we want to tell you what we loved, what we didn't, what surprised us, and whether this older Royal Caribbean ship and this 7-night Mexican Riviera itinerary are still worth booking. And spoiler alert, we'd do it again. Welcome back to Travel with Nick and Tony. If you're new here, we cruised a lot, and most of our cruising lately has been with Royal Caribbean. This time, we spent 7 nights aboard the Navigator of the Seas, sailing round trip from LA with stops in Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlán, and Puerto Vallarta. We had 9 people traveling together on this cruise, so it was a pretty big group. And one thing that immediately stood out to me was how well Navigator worked for everybody. During the day, people could go do their own thing. Somebody could go to the pool, someone go relax somewhere else, some see some entertainment, someone could find somewhere quiet to sit. And Tony and I could disappear into the casino for probably too long. But because Navigator isn't enormous, it was really easy for everybody to reconnect. And every night, all 9 of us came back together for dinner. We also met couples, groups of friends, and people traveling by themselves. And that's something I think Navigator does particularly well. It felt social, it feels approachable, and it never really felt overwhelming. One thing we really enjoyed during this trip was meeting new people. We became friends with Jacqueline and her friend Elaine. Jacqueline is a very experienced traveler and she gave us a ton of great travel and cruise trips. And considering how much we travel, it's always fun when someone tells us something that makes us think, wait a minute, why aren't we doing that? That's one of the things I really love about cruising. You can start the week as complete strangers. You see somebody in the casino or at dinner or at a bar, by the pool, somewhere else around the ship. You start talking, then you see them again the next day, and before you know it, you've made new friends. I think Navigator is especially good for that because it's big enough that there's plenty going on, but it's not so massive that you feel like you're surrounded by thousands of people you'll never see again. You actually start recognizing people, and that gives the ship a really comfortable feeling by the end of the week. Navigator of the Seas originally launched more than 20 years ago. Obviously, she's been refurbished since then, and Royal Caribbean has added a lot to the ship over the years. But it's still a Voyager-class ship. And compared with ships like Oasis, Wonder, Utopia, or Icon, she's significantly smaller. And you know what? I think that's one of her strengths. It feels manageable. After you've been on board for a day or two, you pretty much know where everything is. You don't feel like you need 20 minutes just to get from one side of the ship to the other. If someone says, let's meet at the casino or in the dining room, you know exactly where you're going, and it really doesn't take that long to get there. There's something really nice about that. The ship becomes familiar very quickly, and by the middle of the week, it almost starts to feel like home. I think that's something we sometimes lose when we're comparing cruise ships. We focus so much on which ship has the most slides, the most restaurants, the biggest pool deck, the newest technology, the most neighborhoods or things to do. But bigger doesn't automatically mean better. Sometimes you just want a ship that's comfortable, and Navigator is comfortable. And there's one particular feature on Navigator that I absolutely love, and that's the outdoor lower promenade deck. You can walk all the way around the ship. And when you get towards the front, you actually walk up the stairs, go around the helipad at the bow of the ship, and then come back down the other side. If you're someone who likes walking on a cruise, this is fantastic. Instead of doing circles around an indoor track or walking around the same upper deck over and over, you can actually walk along the side of the ship with the ocean right next to you. Then you head up those stairs towards the bow, and the views are incredible, especially when you're sailing into or out of port. We spent quite a bit of time out here, and honestly, some of my favorite moments from the entire cruise weren't anything we paid extra for. It was just standing at the front of the Navigator, watching the ocean, watching the coastline, or watching the sunset. That's cruising. And I love these older Royal Caribbean ships that still have spaces like this. For this cruise, Tony and I stayed in a junior suite. And we actually booked this cruise through one of our Club Royale casino offers. We've talked a lot on this channel about how we use these offers to reduce the cost of cruising, and we'll actually make another video specifically about our casino experience on this trip, because we've definitely got some things to talk about. But the junior suite was a great home base for 7 nights. We had plenty of room, a beautiful balcony, and again, some of the best moments were simply sitting outside watching the ocean go by. Now, we did gamble on this cruise, and we each had free play. And unfortunately, we didn't win. It happens. Sometimes we have fantastic casino trips and a lot of luck, but sometimes we don't. And this was definitely not one of our winning trips. But that's also why we look at gambling as part of our entertainment budget. Because when we look at what we spent overall and compare it with what a 7-night vacation like this would otherwise cost, accommodations, food, entertainment, and transportation between 3 different destinations, we still got a tremendous value from this trip. Now, talking about the casino, one of the major reasons we had such a good time wasn't because we were winning, because again, we weren't. It was the people. The casino staff on Navigator was phenomenal. Our casino host was Ali. And Ollie was one of the best casino hosts we've ever had. He was incredibly kind, generous with his time, and regularly came through the casino and stopped to talk with us while we were playing. By the end of the week, he knew all of us and really made us feel appreciated. We also had some amazing casino servers, especially Roxeen and Rose. They were fun, they were friendly, and they remembered us. They were constantly checking in to make sure that we had everything we needed. And when you're spending multiple nights in the same casino, that becomes part of the experience. Eventually, it starts to feel like you're walking into a place where everybody knows you. And that brings us to the $2 bills. I love bringing $2 bills with me on cruises. And when I'm in the casino and someone brings me a drink, I always tip them with the $2 bill. It's easy, it's memorable, and the server gets a cash tip. By the end of the cruise, it became something that all of the servers were talking about. They would come one after the other. Do you need an extra drink? Can I get you something? Are you sure? And I'm sitting there thinking, I physically can't drink enough to justify this level of service. We even heard that Tony and I had become a topic of conversation in the back where they prepared the drinks. They were apparently talking about the guys giving out the $2 bills, and we thought it was hilarious. But it proves our point. If someone is taking good care of you, take care of them. And if you're already planning to tip, do something memorable that can make a difference. As great as our casino crew was, they had some serious competition from our main dining room staff. Remember, we had 9 people traveling together, and every night the main dining room was where everybody came back together. Our assistant waiter was Gilbert, and our head waiter was Monica. Monica was fabulous. She really made dinner feel personal. If there was something on the menu that we were hesitant to order, she'd often just bring out an extra one for the table so everybody could try it, and I loved that. We ended up trying things we definitely wouldn't have ordered anyway. And dinner became much more than just sitting down and eating. It became one of the events of the evening. We'd all get together, we'd talk about what we'd done for that day, we'd try different foods, we'd laugh, we'd make our plans for later in the evening, we'd spend the time together, and the food was good. But the service was what really made those dinners memorable. And that's something that sometimes gets overlooked when people compare ships based entirely on amenities. Yes, you can build a billion-dollar cruise ship, you can put the newest attractions on it, you can add dozens of restaurants and bars, but ultimately, the crew has an enormous impact on whether you have a great vacation. There's also plenty happening at night on the Navigator. There are shows, the live music's great, there are bars, and there are activities happening throughout the ship. We saw some of the entertainment, and what we saw was fun. But if you've watched our channel, you know that at night after dinner, we usually head down to the casino. That's what we enjoy. And that's another reason cruising works so well when you're traveling with a group. Everybody doesn't have to do the same thing. Somebody can go see a show or live music, go have a couple drinks at one of the bars, or go to bed. Obviously, a huge part of this cruise isn't just Navigator, it's where it takes you. And this 7-night itinerary gave us Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlán, and Puerto Vallarta. These are very different experiences, and we'll make separate videos about these ports because there's way too much to cover here. But let me give you the highlights. In Cabo, we booked an excursion through Shore Excursions Group rather than directly through Royal Caribbean. It was about $40 a person, and we took a boat out to see the famous Cabo Arch. This was amazing. It was one of those iconic places where you've seen the pictures 1,000 times, and then suddenly you're sitting there on a boat just looking at it. For around $40, we thought this was a really good value. It lasted about an hour, and it was easy to figure out where we needed to go. We got some beautiful views of the Cabo Arch from the water, and we got a lot more footage from that day, so we'll show you the entire experience in another video. Mazatlán was completely different. We didn't book an excursion. Instead, we hired a taxi right from the port and basically created our own tour for the day. And this is one of my favorite ways to experience a port. We went downtown, we visited the market, we walked through the cathedral, and right across from the cathedral we stopped at a bakery and picked up some fresh bread. I really like experiences like this. You're not necessarily going to some big tourist attraction. You're walking around where people actually live. You're going to the market, eating the local food, and experiencing the city. Then, we went over toward the Zona Dorada, near the beach, and ate at Taqueria San Pablo. We've eaten there before, and it's so good. The fresh meats, the tacos, the quesadillas, all the toppings. You can basically build everything exactly the way you want it, and it's actually at a really good value. Mazatlán sometimes gets overlooked compared with Cabo and Puerto Vallarta, but we've had some really fun days there, and we'll make another video showing you exactly what we did. And then there's PV. It's probably our favorite stop on the itinerary. We love Puerto Vallarta. We particularly enjoy going down to the romantic zone. It's lively, it's very LGBT friendly, and there are tons of restaurants, shops, and things to do. We always find good food. We have our favorite place to get ice cream, and PV is also a place where I like the idea of getting a massage because you can often get one for significantly less than you'd pay on board the ship. This time there was only one problem. It was very hot and humid. This was the summer in PV, so it's not exactly shocking. But we're going to go back around Thanksgiving, and I'm really looking forward to experiencing it again when it's a little cooler, because this is a city where I could easily spend an entire day walking around, eating, shopping, and enjoying the atmosphere. And finally, you come back to the ship. This is one of the reasons I love cruising. You can spend the morning seeing the Cabo Arch. You can wander through a market in Mazatlán. You can spend the day eating and walking around Puerto Vallarta. And then you come home, back to the Navigator. You shower up, you change clothes, you go meet your friends for dinner. Maybe Monica convinces you to try something you've never eaten before. Maybe you see a show, have a couple drinks, go find Roxeen and Rose in the casino and hand out some more $2 bills. And while you're doing all of that, your hotel is already moving toward the next destination. There's no packing, no checking into another hotel, no airport, no hauling suitcases around. You wake up the next morning somewhere completely different. And even after all the cruises we've taken, this still feels a little bit magical to me. This trip had one more surprise for us. After leaving the ship, we headed to Long Beach Airport. We took off, and then we looked down, and there was the Port of Los Angeles, Navigator of the Seas, sitting in San Pedro, and right there with her, Quantum of the Seas. After spending 7 nights aboard Navigator, seeing it from the air like this was such a cool way to end the trip. You actually spend the entire week living on this massive ship, and then suddenly you're looking down from thousands of feet in the air. It was a pretty perfect ending. And this cruise was also a milestone for us. Because of these 7 nights, we now have over 80 Crown and Anchor points, which means our next Royal Caribbean cruise we're Diamond, and we're pretty excited about this one. One of the biggest benefits we're looking forward to is the 4 complimentary drinks per person per day. That's 8 drinks between Tony and me every day, and they don't have to be alcoholic. They could be things like a shake from Johnny Rockets or a protein drink after the gym. We also get complimentary photo benefits and some other perks that we'll be trying out for the first time. So, after 7 nights, would we sail this again? Absolutely. We'd do this exact itinerary again. Navigator is not the newest ship by any means, or the biggest one. If your number one priority is experiencing every new attraction Royal Caribbean has invented, Navigator probably isn't going to beat Icon or Utopia. But that's not what everybody needs from a cruise. Navigator is comfortable, she's manageable, she has plenty to do. We loved walking around the outdoor promenade and out towards the helipad. We loved our junior suite and the casino. Our main dining room experience was phenomenal. Our casino crew were excellent, and the ship never felt so enormous that getting somewhere became an event in itself. Then she took us to 3 fantastic destinations. For us, that's a pretty great way to spend 7 nights. A cruise ship doesn't have to be the newest in the fleet to give you an incredible vacation. Sometimes we get so obsessed with seeing what's new, we forget what actually makes what traveling memorable. It wasn't a water slide that made this cruise memorable for me. It was standing at the front of the Navigator, watching the sunset. It was 9 of us sitting around a table trying different foods together. It was getting to know the crew in the casino and the dining room. It was meeting Jacqueline and Elaine and swapping travel trips. It was seeing the Cabo arch from the water, walking through a local market in Mazatlán, and eating ice cream in Puerto Vallarta. So if you're looking at Navigator of the Seas and wondering, is this ship too old? Our answer is no, not even close. If the itinerary and the price make sense for you, we would absolutely recommend giving Navigator a try. And if you're considering the 7-night Mexican Riviera itinerary with Cabo, Mazatlán, and PV, even if it's being sailed by a different ship, we really enjoyed this itinerary as well. We've got a lot more coming from this trip. We're going to show you exactly what we did in Cabo, how we explored Mazatlán, and our favorite spots spending a day in Puerto Vallarta. We'll talk about our casino experience, and of course, we're going to let you know what it's like cruising for the first time as Diamond members when we go to Alaska next month. So if you're interested in Royal Caribbean, cruising, casino offers, cruise tips, and figuring out how to get as much value as possible out of your vacations, make sure you're subscribed to Travel with Nick and Tony, and let us know in the comments. Would you rather sail on an older, smaller Royal Caribbean ship for a great itinerary and a great price, or pay a bit more to experience one of the newer mega ships? I'm actually really curious to see what everybody says. Thank you for traveling with us. We'll see you on the next one.